When people come to us, they're generally buying in training for themselves. They're saying, I feel that this is a gap in my knowledge and I want to do something about it. So they come with an open mind and an enthusiasm. They recognise that there might be gaps in their knowledge and they want to do something about it. So some of the things that we're doing in training is looking at what is something about the psychology of the group under which we're looking today. So in this case, poly. What's going on in poly minds and hearts that kind of drives them to be poly and makes them want to be poly, not in a pathologizing way, but in a way of kind of trying to understand the experience that's different and unique to them. And also looking at the social context in which people who are polyamorous are living their lives. And they're living their lives in a world that privileges heteronormativity and dyadic relationships and assumes that you are supposed to be a couple, and that if you have any other relationships, then that's not really normal and acceptable and okay. And even the therapy world itself has that view, because there are organisations that do, or you go onto courses that do couple counselling rather than working with relationships or relationship therapy. And so we're just about to start a one-year diploma in relationship therapy with gender and sexual diversities that won't assume that the people coming into the room are going to be, there's going to be two people presenting for therapy. It might well be more than two. And it might be that they have a kinky relationship or a BDSM relationship, and they're wanting to come and explore that in therapy. So we're kind of really pushing the boundaries. And I think that course will be of interest to two groups really. One is people who have trained more traditionally on couple therapy, like perhaps at Relate or something like that, and think this training doesn't really embrace the kind of people who are coming through the door nowadays, because the world is much bigger than a dyadic couple. And the other group would be LGBT people who have felt really that they want to develop working with couples or relationships or more than one person, because their training, largely a heterosexual course, would have been taught them to do that, and think, I don't want to go through the mill of being kind of the only gay in the room and being taught to work with relationship models that don't fit my communities. And so I think it's going to be of interest to them too. And so there's a kind of open-mindedness, I think, and a realization that life is a lot broader than the kind of narrow lens that we were fed when we were starting out in our work as training therapists. I don't really see it through a pathologizing lens. Now I know that that's different to some of the mainstream therapy traditions that might say, oh, you're avoiding intimacy, or you're unable to commit, or you're afraid or something. But that's not been my experience of working with poly people, or indeed of my poly friends and socially. They seem to me to be just as well adjusted as everybody else, if not have unique strengths in their ability to communicate openly and honestly about themselves and what they're wanting. And that's something that in a very heteronormative world, people could take and learn from, I think, the way poly people conduct their relationships. So the people are being invited to the works party and you're allowed to bring your partner at some of the more progressive firms. And they might even say, bring your partner or +1 or something. But actually, who do you choose if you're poly? And what happens if you decide that 3 of you want to go? And what will happen to your colleagues? What will your colleagues say? And so I think clients may well feel like they've got to make a choice and that they've got to only take one, or maybe if they can't take all of their friends, all of their partners, they don't really want to go, and they'd rather hang out with their friends. And it's about finding a way in which people feel empowered to be themselves and not feel like they've got to fit some heteronormative view.